Hi, I'm Lindsay Webster. My husband Drew and I are part of a larger MC on the south end of Tacoma. He felt called to be part of the Soma community about 9 years ago, bought his house specifically in the south end 8 years ago. And then 7 years ago, I moved in and we got married. We have 3 daughters, almost 6, 3.5, and almost 2. And our South End community is a main reason why Tacoma is called the Gritty City. We have anywhere from single moms on our block to the drug transition house on our street, to young families, to people that have been there for decades. It's a pretty little diverse pocket of Tacoma. One way I think leading as a couple has been great is that Drew and I just have way different backgrounds of how we came to know Jesus. And from his background of not knowing Jesus until he was like 21 years old and me having known him my whole life, we just come from super different backgrounds that speak to our neighbors and people that we encounter way differently. And I appreciate his perspective so much. And I feel like knowing his story helps me love people that I probably would not have loved very well, having just come from the background that I did. And vice versa. I think Drew has more grace on people that have a little more pride or self-righteousness that I have dealt with in my life. And that has been super helpful in leading together. Those are definite strengths. Our stories are our strengths, for sure. Another way I am been super grateful in having my husband as a partner in caring for people is a lot of the single moms that are in our neighborhood that we care for and love and are friends. Just them being able to see Drew's interaction with me as his wife and Drew's care for his kids, and even one of our neighbors has asked him to have the birds and the bees talk with her son. And I need him for that. I can't have that conversation. I need my husband to do that. And as awkward and as crazy as it can be, I know that even that gesture meant a ton to her and hopefully to her son too. Another thing is we care for a lot of the teens in our neighborhood and in our little community. And I know a lot of them have just really poor father stories, and to have Drew be more of a more presence than maybe just aside from I'm always meeting without him, having him in our home and them getting to see how he loves and cares for our daughters and how he loves and cares for me, and also giving them an opportunity to have a father figure. He has come to their plays, he has supported them too, and he's right there alongside me and caring for them. And so they get to have this pseudo father figure in Drew, and I know that they really appreciate that. Another way Drew and I complement each other is just logistically. We plan a lot of events at our house. We have a lot of people over, from poker nights to craft nights to huge backyard barbecues. I know that knowing each other's strengths, knowing what Drew's strengths are, what my strengths are, I tend to be a more strategic planner type, whereas Drew's definitely the visionary. He's kind of more likes to interact with people. That I can put him in any situation, any event, and he's like golden. And I just help kind of plan it all out. But he's got the ideas too. And so knowing each other's strengths, I feel like is huge in caring for our community. I know that a single mom can text me at any moment too, and I can send him out to go check on something happening in the street. That they feel like we are advocates for them, and that they have that, partnering with my husband in that, like, it's super helpful for them to have a male figure too, not just me speaking into their lives, but seeing him actually take action and feeling that they have an advocate, someone that cares about them too.
I'm Drew, and my wife and I have super busy schedules. We're really active. We have lots of interests, probably more than we can actually accommodate in our lives. But we struggle with wanting to interact with our neighbors, people that we love to be around, their friends, people we want to serve, and be able to do all the things that we are very interested in doing at the same time. And instead of saying, okay, well, we have to hang out with our neighbors on this weekend, and on the next weekend, have a poker night or something, it's been great news that we could actually bring those things together. And so here's an activity that we love. Here are people that we love and want to serve and be a part of their lives and them part of ours. And we just bring them together around just a common thing. And it's amazing. A struggle leading a missional community as a couple for us has actually been our own marriage. And I'm convinced more and more that sharing our struggles in our marriage is actually super beneficial, not only to us as just being able to process it, but also the people in our MC, because they get to see, hopefully they get to see us walking through struggle and relying on Jesus. Jesus is the one that sustains us. He's the one that reconciles us, that restores us. And it feels like if people don't see the struggle that we go through as a couple, then they don't get to see that work that the Lord's doing between us, the work that the Lord's doing in our lives. So I'm out with the guys, some guys from work, and we're having a couple of beers. And as I've been thinking to myself, I really want people to be in on the struggle in my wife and my marriage. And so I share it. I share a little bit, and there was definitely a sense of surprise. There was a sense of almost panic. They just didn't expect that out of me, which I love that, because it feels like they were able to see a relatable, real part of me and my wife. And I'm able to say to those guys, that we're trusting the Lord. There's no need to panic. But we do struggle, and we do rely on Jesus, to sustain us.
As far as advice goes, there's two things I would tell you. And one is to not be afraid to call in the larger body, to call in your community to help you care for people. Drew and I, there's one moment I can think of, an instance where we're caring for someone, and we just took on the entire burden ourselves, and it just destroyed us in some ways. It became so heavy to carry. It became just consumed our marriage. We talked about it all the time. We just didn't call on our community to help. And so with that, I would say, know your community, know their strengths. We have a great people that have, financial strengths, just like relational strengths, all of those things, and calling on your community to help you with that is huge in caring for people. My second piece of advice would be just be really honest about where you're at in your marriage, and not be afraid to invite people into that. And whether that's prayer or really just talking it out and being counseled. And I think when we get into the deep and dirty, gritty part of like serving people, especially in our south end of Tacoma, Drew and I have to make time to talk about logistics and like all of those things. But we also, even more importantly, need to make time for each other and staying on top of our relationship, because people are not seeing the right picture of a marriage, of a godly marriage, and what God created marriage for if we're not doing well and we're not in sync. And so I definitely would say, like, God cares about your marriage. Like, focus on that, and God will use you as a unit to help care and love your community well.